Hey, Richard Mellor here again. I haven't done any videos for a while, and I tried writing, but I sometimes you get a writer's block. With Facts for Working People, the blog, um, and I just wanted to. I'd started to write about this, but I'm not a film critic, or never written stuff about films or criticisms of films. But I wanted to talk about a little bit for a couple of reasons, really. It was a film I saw the other night or a couple of weeks ago called The Hate You Give, and it's the acronym THUG, The Hate You Give. And overall, I thought this was a very good film. I hope folks will watch it. But it has some major weaknesses, I think. But overall, it's a very good film. And I think what was extremely powerful about it was the opening scene of a man. He's a small business person, got a store, hardware store, I can't remember, or some sort of store in the hood, and he's talking to his two children, a young woman and a young boy and a young girl, at the dinner table, and he's telling them, look, he's teaching them what to do if you get stopped by the police. If he gets stopped by the police, he says, I will get stopped. Doesn't mean Daddy's done anything wrong, but I will be stopped by the police at some point or another. And here's what you do when you get stopped by the police. This was a very powerful scene. It was well shot, and like I'm a former backhoe operator and a labourer. I don't know about filmography, cinematography, but I found the scene very powerful, and partially because I also have relatives. I have grandchildren that are black, and I know when I talk to black folks, and especially black mothers, that's what they tell their children. This is not out of the question. You tell your children how to deal with what to do when the police stop you, or when they stop me. This is what you have to do, and I don't have to go into the reasons for that. But that's how crazy. If you ever want to try to figure out whether or not black people are telling the truth, which they are, about the situation with the police and everything else. I mean, just think, if you're a white person, think about, do you do that? And on a regular, serious basis, educate your children about how to deal with the police. So overall, it's a good film, and I won't say a lot about it, but it's about the young girl grows up a little bit, and now she's a teenager. She's going to I can't remember whether it's a private school or it's a school in a wealthier neighborhood where there's very few people of color. And she meets up with one of a close friend from her youth, and anyway, he gets shot, and then it goes on from there about that situation and about the situation of the police. It's a very political film in that regard. The weakness of it for me is that you left the film's messages. There's a whole thing about you'll read when something goes down in the ghetto or in the hood or whatever you want to call it, in a poor black community, working class community. The cops say, well, people won't tell us, people won't let us know what's going on, people won't speak up, and of course there's this talk about, well, you mustn't snitch. In the film they talk about that, the snitches, you'll be snitching if you say something, and this, that, and the other. And so the thing is that it's not just about snitching. There's obviously, and this is the weakness in the film, it's not just about snitching. I lived in a neighborhood like that, and I saw things happen, bad things, and I never called the police. I'm not saying you never do, but this was between elements there, between different drug-related things and that, and because the police are not going to help, and the courts are not going to help solve that problem. And when I lived in that community, we did our best to try to deal with it given the limited power we had in our community there, to deal with that situation, because the police and the courts and the jail system are not going to they're not going to solve this problem. So it's not just about snitching. I'm sure there's that too, but that's not it. But in the end, you get the impression that, well, this film leaves the impression quite clearly that if people were more cooperative, there's a potential that the cops would be able to do more, and there's good cops and this, that, and the other. In fact, one of her relatives is a cop in the film. And the thing is that that's not the right message to leave people with in the film, and that's the weakness of the film in my mind. Just the trauma, the crisis. It's not just that there's criminals, black criminals in the hood. Sure, there is. There were kids on my block, on the corner of my block, that were righteous thugs in a sense. They had lost their class character. They had no hope, and everything else. And they're not criminals in the same sense, and they're victims of serious trauma. Kids grew up in those communities. I never had friends shot. 2, 3, 4 of my friends killed. My son knows that, and I knew that when I was there. Kids getting shot and everything else, and so this has a terrible traumatic effect on young black kids. So that was the weakness of the film. But here's the thing. So the young woman in it is obviously a mixed race girl. Her name's got a Danish name. I looked her up. And sure enough, her father's a Dane. Her mother, she's middle or upper middle class. And her mother went to some fancy school in New York. Her dad's a businessman, I think. And so I look her up on Wikipedia. It was so nauseating, I almost gave in. I mean, her name's Amandla Steinberg, and this is what I'm reading. I'm saying, well, let me find out a little bit more about her. Well, she identifies herself, quote, as an intersectional feminist. Now, out of these 2 paragraphs, the only thing I could figure out about what she sort of likes, really, what she's interested in, was she wants to be studying filmmaking at New York University's Tisch School of the Arts. So anyway, she's an intersexual feminist, and she identifies, this was the nauseating, she identifies as non-binary and uses both she, her, hers, and they, their, theirs pronouns. She has previously said that she was bisexual and pansexual, and in June 2018 she came out as gay. This made me want to throw up. This is this identity politics to the max. And especially from the middle and upper middle classes, no matter what ethnic background you're from. This is the result of the class consciousness in the United States being weakened, and all of this identity crap. It's fine that people are gay. It's fine that people want to do whatever they want to do with their sexuality. It tells me nothing about this person. It just is revolting, in my opinion. I almost gave up on it. However, it doesn't in any way undermine the fact that she was very, very good in this movie. And but this stuff just drives me nuts, to be honest with you. And I think really it is a lot to do with the absence of the class question in the United States, where people are trying to seek, firstly, the influence of the petty bourgeois. The middle class is greater, and people are trying desperately to find some belonging. If you don't see class as an issue, or it's obscured for you. I remember when a young English woman got up, it was somewhere where Obama was talking, and she said she was non-binary. I thought that had to do with mathematics. I didn't know what she was talking about, but I know now. But anyway, Obama happened to say something about what courage she had coming out like that, and I thought to myself, he wouldn't be saying that if she stood up and said she was in a union, and unions were so important, and we need, nah. She can say anything about your sexuality. It's harmless when it comes to the ruling class in this country. The class question is dominant. So anyway, that was one thing I wanted to say. I'm going to leave it there and keep these short because I want to put up a couple of things. That's my thought on that film. Do go see it though, and her performance is great. So this is Richard with Facts for Working People. URL of the blog is weknowwhatsup.blogspot.com, and if you Google Facts for Working People, you'll get to the blog anyway, one way or another. All right. Well, that's just a couple of thoughts for so far.